John, I do, and it is a great pleasure on this Saturday to be able to reach, as I think they said, across the pond. And so we're reaching across the pond to our good friend, Dr. Jeffrey McTavish. And he is a medical professional, and he's going to share some information of how you reach out and talk to medical professionals, how you make those things happen. And I know we've got free. You know, it's important. How do you reach out to somebody? And I want Dr. Jeffrey to share, you know, how this came to him and how he was able to reach out and make that really happen. And Dr. Jeffrey, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, look at that. Look, it's interesting as people are thinking about this in these interesting, challenging times regarding health. But the way to reach out to somebody like yourself, I think, is really important and in these times. So if you would, Dr. Jeffrey, share some wisdom.
Thanks, Keith, and welcome everybody. Hello. My introduction to Immunical and the Immunotech business really came 5 years ago when the product and the opportunity first came to the UK. And I was in the right time at the right place in Belfast, where I met somebody who had known Don Hutchison down in Spain. And that's how this whole thing came about. So he gave me the details and he said, have a look at it. So this was, I think, on a Thursday night or a Friday night. I had a look at the company. I had a look at the product and the research behind it. And then I looked at how I could maybe have this as an additional income stream for my clinic. The first part was kind of cool because it was a Canadian company. It was out of Montreal. I went, Canadian company, that's fine. I'm a part-time Canadian. And I thought, that's kind of cool. And then I thought, okay, look at the business side of things. But first, let's look at maybe the product. So I looked at the product, and then I looked at the research behind it, and I just went, OMG. This is rock solid stuff. And that really impressed me because then I could be bound to something that I know that's going to be foolproof when I talk to other people. And then I looked at how my clinic may be able to have another income stream, and particularly in these times where we are in lockdown here in the UK, and I have no patients to come in to my clinic. We can't see anybody unless it's an emergency. And so it's a very difficult time. So my income stream is very limited. And so this is one of the things that we should be looking at when we have this situation as clinicians. So after looking at the company and the product, I decided I'm going to try the product myself and see. Now I'm an asthmatic and I have had asthma ever since I was a child. So my exercise-induced asthma was one of the ranges of what I'm going to look at and see what this thing is going to do. So I started taking a couple of sachets of Immunical every day, and I didn't see any difference, not until the third month when I would be going running, and normally I'd have to stop and use a Ventolin, that's the blue spray that we use, just to get my breath back, and then I would run again. And then I'd be doing this sometimes 4, 6, 7 times, sometimes when I was running. So it was pretty cool. And then as I started using the product more, the use of that blue spray thing called salbutamol or Ventolin got less and less. And now, if I go running, I may use it once or twice. So having that experience myself and knowing the science that was behind the product, I was able to start to share that now with my patients. And then I was looking at my patients to see, well, how can glutathione help this patient? And so what we have at our fingertips, my clinic, and I'm sure a lot of other clinics, a lot of professionals out there, we can use lab tests as an objective way of looking at glutathione levels. And I've got one example here. This is a patient of mine who had pretty bad psoriasis, elbows, knees, back of the neck. It was pretty bad. And we did his glutathione reductase, which means how you can recycle glutathione. We did this back in May of 2016, and he was very low on both counts. And we could see this because we took some photographs of his psoriasis. Then we did the test again in July the following year and found some really cool things. He went normal with all his in the ranges for glutathione and glutathione reductase. What he did, all he took was Immunical and Immunical Platinum. So this told us that his levels objectively came up, but more importantly, you could see it. His psoriasis was almost gone and he was elated. So we can use these tests in order to be able to ascertain the effectiveness of Immunical and Immunical Platinum with our patients. But now what we can do as a chiropractor or as somebody you want to talk to, a dentist or a anti-aging doctor or an MD, it doesn't matter who the profession is, an acupuncturist. One of the greatest gifts that we have is the ability to be able to quote glutathione and the condition that that particular clinician may be seeing. And this is the beautiful thing that I found with a lot of my patients and also with people that are out there in the field that I talk to. And they may say, I've got this problem. And I say, well, I'm not quite sure if glutathione can help menopause. Let's have a look. And we Googled, and sure enough, what it comes up with. The bottom line of all of this is something called oxidative stress. Oxidative stress, in other terms, is inflammation. Inflammation is the base of a lot of the different chronic diseases that we have. And so we look at how we can utilize glutathione via the Immunical, and particularly Immunical Platinum when we're looking at specific immunological conditions that may require a bit of a boost. And this is how we can use this because we've got the literature to be able to give us that information and the informative, I guess almost the way of knocking on the door and saying, hey, I've got something that you really need to look at, Mr. Dentist, or the anti-aging doctor. And so what we need is some constructive and very good data to go to these people because they're very much driven by things. And the kind of things would be like, what is in the literature? This is what we need to know. So if I was presenting this to a respiratory doctor or anything like this, here's something that's quite new. This just came out. And this was looking at how glutathione therapy helped with COVID-19 pneumonia. And they used both oral and intravenous glutathione. They also added selenium and they also added alpha-lipoic acid with that. And really what they came to as a conclusion was that they used these precursors, i.e. now we've got Immunical, we can fit into this little wee subject. And alpha-lipoic acid seemed to present a novel treatment approach for blocking a very pro-inflammatory marker called nuclear factor kappa beta, which basically would create this thing called cytokine storm. I'm not sure if you've heard that. And so what we find with these people is that they come up with this cytokine storm, which then creates all of this inflammation in the lungs, and this is one of the problems they have. So if we can quench down that particular inflammatory process using something as wonderful and very effective as Immunical, as a precursor to making glutathione, now we have an ability to talk to many, many, many people. As a matter of fact, that is the way that I can take it to a dentist and say, hey, this is what it will do for mercury. I could talk to many, many different disciplines. All I need to do is say, here's the data, here's how you can help your patient, because ultimately that's what we want to do. We are there to help our patients and or clients, how you call them. And this is what our goal is. And if we have the means by having a product, having a service, to be able to give people that beautiful thing called health. And that's one of the things that this particular problem that we're experiencing worldwide is that health has become a primary goal in people's brains, because if we don't have our health, how can we have our wealth? And so therefore we look at the other aspect of this, and the wealth part of the equation with the Immunical and the business, the Immunitech, the business that comes with this. Because really, when we're looking at something that can help us physically, we really want to help something with us both financially, because ultimately we need we need money. We need money and we need financial support in order for us to live and do the creative things that we want to do, to be able to do the trips and do this stuff. And I feel that this particular time, the way that we can share that with everybody, including different types of clinicians, is that we're able to bring not only the science in, but we can also bring in the fact that you can have this additional income stream, which for a lot of people like ourselves who are so dependent on patients coming through the door, is that this is another means of being able to create the environment and the lifestyle that we want to have. And I think that really, really good is that we're looking at how we could make our lives richer. I think if we don't have health, how can you make your life richer? It becomes more paramount these days. How could you not budget for health now? So that if you want to budget for a trip and you're not well on that trip, how can you then make that trip joyful if you don't have your health? And so the two go together well. And this is the great thing, I think Maurizio had said that, is that we don't need to be the number one, but we need to be the best. But we've got the best of everything here. We've got in every sachet of Immunocal, we have got the heart and soul of Dr. Bonus's blood, sweat, and tears in that sachet. And every sachet we give and take is part and soul of his particular belief in this product, which is really great. So when we're talking to other disciplines, I always say to them, in chiropractic, there's one thing that we do. We like to change the world one spine at a time. And so I tend to tell people now, what I like to do is I want to change people's health one box at a time. Immunocal. This is really important for us now as clinicians and as distributors or people on the street who just need to know about this product. That's how I share it, is the basically, Keith, is basically the science behind it is irrefutable. Two, you can use the data then to talk to any discipline, and regardless if you are a layperson or you are a medical-based practitioner, it doesn't really matter. We have something that's infallible in terms of the amount of research out there for glutathione. And three is that we have another way of bringing in an income stream into our practices or into our lives, in which we would be able to enrich not only ourselves, but our health and wealth of the loved ones that are around us. Keith, back to you.
Well, Dr. Jeffery, thank you so much. Such wisdom there. And what's interesting, Dr. Jeffery, just, 24 years ago, 25 years ago, when we found out about Immunocal and it got the first package shipped here into the United States, Sandra and I looked at this as a product with solid science. The animals live 30% longer and you can't get it anyplace else. That's where we're still at today. So unless someone like yourself shares it with people, they're not going to know about it, right, Dr. Jeffery?
Yeah, and that's the whole beauty of it, is that because for me, the research sold it to me, and then the pay plan or the business behind it was secondary. For me, that was the thing that got me, was the rock solid information out of there in terms of the scientific data, and also the ability to be able to use that and talk to people and say, well, it actually does work. And we could always use our prefrontal cortex and say, no, it doesn't. But then we can use lab tests and go, yes, it does. So it becomes sort of a no-brainer after a while in terms of in our clinician side, that sharing it with other chiropractors, other osteopaths, medical doctors, and that we have a lot of data that we can then say, well, here it is, and this is what we're looking for and looking at. Whereas most other people may not understand the data, but they could understand the overall concept of what glutathione does and the significance of it, and also the uniqueness of what this particular product brings to their particular health.
And it works for everyone around the world, regardless of where they're at, whether they're in London, or they're in London, Ontario, London, Canada, they're in Paris, or are in Madrid, or back in here in the United States. So thank you, Dr. Jeffery. Appreciate that so much. We're now going to go to Sarah Capo. And, one of the things that we look at with this business, you're hearing about this great product. You're hearing about all the things